Would you say?
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Father's Day. May need to ask a few people to share. I don't, in fact, give me one. I need to see what I'm talking about. I need to see what I'm supposed to be saying.
Standards. I was prepared, right? Yeah. Obsessive compulsive.
We're going to continue in Luke chapter 8. We have two episodes, I guess you can call them, with Jesus today, and at first glance, they're kind of, here's one, here's the other. Do they have anything in common? They don't seem to, but maybe they do. So we'll look into that here as we get into it.
Thank you.
Well, here's another one if somebody needs one.
I do.
Yeah.
So your handout, there's a photograph, and I think I've given this out before. Sometime when I was teaching on Father's Day before. This is my siblings and I from our little local newspaper back in 1961. It was a small enough town that somebody at the newspaper office could say, "Hey, why don't you go out to the Nixon's place and take a picture of Willard and all his kids for Father's Day?" Everybody knew who that was, I guess. So,
Which one are you?
I don't know. I think
You're on the
I
left.
think I'm on the right.
I think you're on the left.
You think I'm on the left?
Looks like you're on the right.
I think you're on the left of
I don't know.
Robert's. You don't know who you are?
Well, I have a twin brother on here too that were kind of similar. The funny thing, I never even knew. I don't remember this, of course, but I never even saw this photograph till like I was already fully grown, and somebody dug it up somewhere and said, "Hey, look at this! Wow, how about that?"
I didn't know you were twin.
I am.
Two of them.
There's two of us. There's two of me.
See a Sunday school teacher too.
No, it's not. Not that I know of. So anyway, so we're going to look at, I'll just go ahead and read. I want to read the first part of this, the first story with Jesus and the disciples here, and then we'll just talk about that, and then we'll move on to the next one. Luke chapter 8, we're going to do verse 22 through, 25. And both of these stories today, they both appear in other gospels as well as Luke, and there's little differences between them, but we'll talk mostly about Luke's version of things here. So Luke 8, verse 22. One day Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go over to the other side of the lake." So they got into a boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided, and all was calm. "Where is your faith?" he asked his disciples. In fear and amazement, they asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him." So at first, is that kind of odd at first glance that they're still asking who he is? I mean, but again, that's assuming that these stories are in chronological order, and maybe they aren't. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say this isn't going chronologically. They haven't seen a lot of the things that Luke has already talked about previous to this. That maybe it's still early enough in Jesus's ministry that they're still surprised at some of the things Jesus is able to do. And You know, and it's often noted that the Sea of Galilee, it's not necessary. Now, I am not a water person, so anything I say about sailing or boat, you know, take it with a grain of salt here because I'm probably wrong. You know, although I've spent time on battleships and aircraft carriers earlier in my earlier life. Of course, that was where you paid to get onto a museum ship. Yeah, so that was cool. That was cool. It wasn't moving, so I was okay. We weren't out on the high seas. You know, my mother-in-law, she's a wonderful person. She has a house up in North India on the lake in Warsaw. And every time we go up there, she says, "John, are you ready to go out on the water with my boat?" Well, okay. I guess I am.
Can you swim?
I can swim.
Okay.
Okay.
Inquiring minds want to
I'm good enough to swim, but it's just not my thing, you know. Anyway, so the Sea of, you know, it's not a particularly large lake, and I've done this before when we talk about Mark's version of this. The Sea of Galilee, it's basically 13 miles by 8 miles, you know, which isn't small, but that's not particularly large either. Eagle Creek Reservoir here in town is about 5 miles by 6 miles. So it's just a little smaller than the Sea of Galilee. Lake Tahoe is 21 miles by 12 miles. So, you know, Sea of Galilee isn't even as big as Lake Tahoe. And the Great Salt Lake, of course, is 72 miles by 30 miles. So, you know, that gives you some scale. But the Sea of Galilee is noted that it is subject to strong and sudden storms, like pops up here. It's not unusual that, and even experienced fishermen that you know, were among the apostles here, that they would be maybe caught by surprise a little bit with a sudden storm popping up.
Especially if caused it to happen.
Well, I mean, if Jesus says, "Let's go get into your boat and go across the lake," are you going
I'm
to
not
say,
going yet.
"No, we better not go. It might storm." You
I'm
know,
not going with you right now.
yeah, you go ahead. You do that. So, you know, we'll cut them some slack. So it's interesting. So they're out on the lake, and this, you know, very severe, and waves can get fairly large. Again, what I've read, there can be 20, 30-foot waves on the Sea of Galilee in the middle of one of these, you know, really severe storms. So that's, you know, that's not nothing in a, you know, a little fishing vessel at the time. Even these experienced fishermen, they're just scared, you know, in the middle of this storm. They're out in the middle of nowhere. But you kind of say, well, so Jesus is sleeping through this, which, you know, you wonder about that. Is like, what's he doing? So they start calling on Jesus, say, Master, you know, we're going to drown. So if they're still surprised when he eventually does calm the storm, what do they expect him to do? What do they expect? You know, help us. What do they expect? He's going to do what? If they're surprised when he calms the storm, they're not obviously expecting him to calm the storm. It's just I'm getting into their way they're thinking.
We're going down.
Yeah, hey, come drown with us, you know.
Right.
Now, a lot of commentators have pointed out to say, well, don't they at least know enough about Jesus at wherever they are in his ministry, wherever chronologically they are? Shouldn't they know enough by now that Jesus is not going to say, hey, let's go out in the middle of the lake and drown? You know, that should they not have at least enough faith to know that Jesus is not going to let that happen? You know, I don't know. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to criticize them, I think. Lynn?
Well, a lot of them, depending on what miracles they've seen up to this point, a lot of them are things that are like physical with people.
Right.
This is like over nature.
Yeah.
So that might be a little bit, it's like different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe a little more shocking that I don't know,
Yeah.
with people, not that Jesus wasn't truly healing them, because I believe he was.
Yeah.
But with people, it could be well, was this person just kind of a weenie, or was this person, was it psychological? And then,
Yeah.
people could be making excuses to themselves
Yeah.
about some of the things that he did.
Right.
And this is pretty obvious that, like, this wasn't a sleight of hand, or this was big.
Yeah, this is not some kind of placebo effect.
Yes.
This is an inanimate,
So it would be
it's a
very
thing
different.
it's a
It'd
thing
be
of
very
force of
different.
nature that's been changed, right? Right. Or Chris, did you have?
Well, he let it go,
Mhm.
which, when you get to the point, water in the boat and maybe lightning, or things are even experienced fishermen say, why are we in this mess? He let it go. Maybe
Yeah.
they just thought, hey, when's this, what's gonna happen?
Right.
He kind of ignored it. It's kind of, I'd be afraid to be out
Yeah.
in a boat in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
in a storm like that.
I'm sorry, remind me your name again?
Marcy.
Marcy. Hey, Marcy?
I would think it would be similar to if a huge tornado was coming straight for your house and you knew God sent you to work in Indianapolis, but the tornado's going to take you out. So
Right, exactly,
It
right.
would be very similar
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
God, you gotta save us.
Yeah, stand in front of this tornado and not be, yeah, right, that's good, yeah. Kevin?
Well, I was gonna say, wouldn't you expect more of Jesus than to take you out in the middle of a lake if he knew that there was going to be a storm? Wouldn't you expect him to actually say, let's take a nighttime boating excursion on very smooth waters? Let's enjoy this. But that's not what happened. He's the one who said, let's do this. It
Mhm.
wasn't them who said, hey, I got a great idea. Let's go across the lake in the middle of the night. He was the one who said, let's go across the lake in the middle of the night. Then they get out in the middle of the lake and you got a storm. So it's kind of his fault that they're there. And they're experienced fishermen who know how to handle a boat, and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so it's really his fault that they're there.
Hang on, Bill. Is it his fault or is it their fault?
It's not their fault.
Why not? Maybe there's sin in their lives that has led to trouble, a storm in their life. Oh, don't pshaw me.
I think this is totally like Jesus. We're gonna be in a situation. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I think that's totally like him.
Bill?
Well, I always thought, when I read this part of this chapter, that Jesus created this book. That he did this on purpose.
Okay,
I think so.
So I always felt that way. And
okay.
he wanted to show them.
Yep.
Because they're professional fishermen. They know the water, they know the ship, they know everything. Let me show you what I can do.
I agree.
Okay. Tim?
I think it's more of a teaching moment, it forces them to, that they should pray and ask for things from God.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. Dave?
I always thought that it was, Jesus did to show their unbelief.
Okay,
Because unbelief, I mean, they were human, right? So, and they see all these things happening to other people, but nothing happened to them. Miracles happened for, Jesus created all these other miracles, but not for them. So unbelief was maybe creeping into their lives.
okay, that's good, that's good. Cindy?
That's kind of where I was thinking, is that this. is
Oh,
the
yeah,
first-
right, copy.
All right.
But this is the first one that truly affected them. I mean, this
Yeah.
was their life or death, they felt. And isn't it, I mean, I'll speak from my own personal, when I see other things happening, God working and moving in other people's lives and maybe miracles in other people's, like, wow, that is just really cool. Thank you, God. But when God does something for me, I'm like, what? Wow. I mean, it just takes you back a little bit. And I think for them, it was like, this was the first thing that really affected them.
Okay,
And they're like, wait a minute, who is this? Really,
Yeah.
then, wow, maybe not so much questioning, but maybe that affirming, wow, who is it? This is.
Yeah,
who
yeah,
he says
good.
he is.
That's good. That table, this table's got it so far.
Okay.
Pretty personal.
Well, I want to correct this table because it wasn't the first miracle that the
To affect
disciples
them?
had. No, James and John, Peter and Andrew, the fish,
Well,
the net, when they threw the nets over. That was early. That was actually when James.
But
when
this
Jesus-
affected their lives.
Well, that affected their lives
Well,
too
that's
because they
true.
were about ready to go,
That was
Yeah.
livelihood. This
Yeah.
is life.
or they were actually getting ready to be put in jail. He thought. because
You
they
yeah,
were-
but that
Or
was,
lose all their
Chosen.
livelihood.
that was just a few of them, not the whole group.
No, that was true.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah.
I'm just saying, it was kind of a reminder, not
That
just
is true.
Yeah.
not just it's a reminder that he still doesn't.
Okay, all right. Whoever's fault it was, maybe we're all right. I don't know.
A lot of layers.
But Dave hit on something that I actually wanted to get this on step number 3 here, when bad things happen to not so bad people. I mean, there are other instances, at least one other instance in the Bible of somebody who gets into a terrible storm at sea because he disobeyed God. Jonah, right? But this doesn't seem to be that kind of thing. They went along, they did exactly what Jesus told them to do. They're exactly in God's will. And they're still in the middle of a life-threatening storm, which maybe the lesson is what? That regardless of whether you're a good person or a bad person, or you're in God's will or you're not, tough things are going to happen.
Mhm.
And maybe this is about Jesus demonstrating to them that even if you've done everything right, you're living right, and you're in a terrible storm, and nothing is your own fault, you're still in a terrible spot. Where is your faith? Because that's what he says, right? At the end of the episode, he says, where is your faith?
Mhm.
And I kind of, this is just his way to demonstrate. You got to have faith, regardless of if you're following me, you have to have the faith, whether things are going well. We're having a big party at the marriage at Cana, or we're in the middle of a storm in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. Where is your faith? Your faith needs to be in the right place. So maybe this is his way of demonstrating to his disciples that this is where your faith needs to be. Lynn.
I think this is just a great example of how God works in our lives all the time. He doesn't necessarily cause the storms, but he knows when they're coming. And he's an on-time God. And sometimes we think it's too late. Like, why aren't you acting yet? But
Right.
He's on time.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a perfect example of the way he still works in our worlds today.
Right. Good. All right. Let's move on to episode number 2. Let's see, where were we? All right, chapter 8, verse 26 through 39. I will go ahead and read it. All right, so they make their way across. Okay, one other thing, and I wanted to point to, it's interesting also in verse 24, it says Jesus got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters, at least in the NIV, which is an interesting word. It doesn't say he calmed the wind. He made it stop. He rebuked it, which suggests what?
Satan's behind.
Something, is causing this to happen, which is kind of more of an active thing than just, it just tells the wind to calm down. So it's just kind of an interesting thing to note that it's something that, and that word isn't there just haphazardly, I don't think. I think it's there for a reason, that he rebuked the wind. Kevin?
And is that why, okay, there is the sense that, yes, he just did that and the storm stopped, but the way he went about doing it might have been something that really caught the disciples' attention. Who rebukes a storm?
If you're the creator,
Mhm.
for instance, if you rebuke your children, right? Because you created them, you have the right to rebuke them. Jesus is the creator of the world. in nature, in the storms are all part of nature, and so he had the right to rebuke it.
Like, well, we understand that because we've read the story many times, but I kind of not agree. I'm seeing what Kevin is saying because like, that's not something that,
No.
like we would like if we hadn't heard of that happening, we would not understand
Right,
how that could happen.
right.
Go back to the tornado illustration, you would be praying, please God, stop the tornado,
Right.
not going out and looking at the tornado and saying, you dirty tornado, you better stop right
I
now.
rebuke you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just as an example, I had to take, the storm was rolling in, all those really bad storms that we're supposed to have on the other night. And Nancy said, you don't have time to walk the dog, because the storm's gonna be here in 10 minutes. And I started walking the dog and I started feeling sprinkles and I could see all the lightning in the background. I put my hand up and I said, I rebuke you. Said, Jesus, keep the storm back until I get done. And I walked the dog all the way around, went inside before the storm hit.
Well, I take it back. Apparently, there is at least one person who rebukes storms.
I did. I literally did.
That or the neighbors were looking out the window saying, why is Lockhart running through the neighborhood with his dog?
I wasn't running. I just walked.
All right, let's move on. Anyway, okay, so that time, actually, so if he rebuked, if it was not just a natural occurrence that there was a storm, that some entity caused it. And we'll keep this in mind for the next story because it might actually tie in. Just because Jesus used this storm to teach his disciples a lesson, and he had to rebuke it. So you say, well, why did he allow it? Maybe the thought to keep in mind is maybe sometimes Jesus allows things to happen for some later purpose, just for a purpose that pops up a little bit later. And we'll see that maybe here in the next story as well. All right, verse 26, they sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus had commanded the evil spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "Legion," he replied, because many demons had gone into him, and they begged him repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. A large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into them, and he gave them permission. When the demons came out of the man, they went into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. And the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone out, sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people how the demon-possessed man had been cured. Then all the people of the region of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them because they were overcome with fear. So he got into the boat and left. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return home and tell how much God has done for you." So the man went away and told all over town how much Jesus had done for him. All right, so the last verse there is kind of interesting in that, is this not one of the few times that somebody actually does what Jesus told him to do? After Jesus saves him or heals him or does something, the guy actually does it. So,
How many demons in a legion?
well, a legion is
4,200.
6,000.
Oh, wow.
Google says 4,250.
Yeah.
That's a lot of demons.
I know as much about Roman legions as I know about boating. So okay, so the guy actually does what Jesus tells him to do. Good for him. All right, so it's this area of of land. This is mostly a Gentile area, which is why there are pigs there, because the Israelites raise pigs. They don't have anything to do with pigs. They also don't have anything to do with cemeteries and graveyards and tombs and such. That if you're a Jew and you're spending time in a tomb or a that kind of thing, you are unclean. So we don't know if this guy, this demon possessed man, if he's a Gentile, if he's a Jew or what. We really don't know, and I don't know that it really even matters.
He knew Jesus.
Well, he knew
The
him
demons-
after.
The demons.
All we know is he knew him after he was.
Yeah.
The demons were
Even the
were
demons
left.
knew Jesus.
It's implied here in verse 28. That one of the demons says, "What do you want with me? I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus had commanded the evil spirit to come out of the man. So Jesus had already told and we assume Jesus knows there's a lot of demons in this man. And then he said, go ahead and get out. So so they make a reference here. The spokes demon here. Okay. Well, actually, then they all beg him repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss, which is there's a reference to that in Revelation chapter 9, if you want to look it up, about the abyss, in the end times, and so this kind of indicates that these demons all know what the outcome is going to be at the time of Revelation, that they're going to all end up in this abyss. But they aren't ready to go there yet. They say, "Don't send us there. Say, do something else with us." So they know, obviously they call Jesus by kind of his proper name, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, which there was a belief at the time that if you could call somebody by their full and proper name, you might have some kind of power over them, or you might be able to influence them, which is kind of a superstitious belief people had at that time. So that, and there's other references in the Bible, in the New Testament, that the demons certainly know who Jesus was, whether the rest of us do or not. They know who he is. They know what he's about. So they know full well what that Jesus, and they're not denying that Jesus has authority over them. That they say, "Don't send us into the abyss." Well, they're kind of admitting, if you say it, that's where we have to go. So they asked to go into these pigs instead, and Jesus says, he didn't. He says, and he gave them permission. Jesus allows it. A lot of commentators, a lot of articles about this will say Jesus cast these demons into the pigs. Well, he didn't. He cast them out of the man, but they asked to go into the pigs, and Jesus let that. It was more of a passive thing, that Jesus let them do what they asked to be allowed to happen.
So what happens to the demons when the pigs run down and drown?
We'll get there. The short answer is I have no idea. And nobody else does either.
Isn't that kind of unfair to the person who owns the pigs? Like, he just lost a whole herd.
Yeah, that's why
We'll get to that too. This actually is all going somewhere. So why pigs? What? This whole thing is just kind of straight. Okay, so is it odd that 2,000, and one of the other gospel accounts says there were 2,000 pigs in this herd? 2,000 pigs go into the Sea of Galilee, and they all drown. Well, pigs can swim. Actually, pigs are fairly good swimmers for their shape. They're actually pretty good swimmers. So how is it that 2,000 of them drown?
Demons are heavy.
Jumped off the cliff.
No, I didn't jump off it. Tim knows.
No, I don't know. What's the purpose of the pigs? They don't eat them.
Well,
That's what he just
Well,
asked.
What else do they do?
no, this is a Gentile community.
Oh, okay.
But they fell off of a cliff first.
Well, they rush down the bank into the water.
I bet they fell off.
Now, it doesn't say anything about they drowned because the demons made, you know, because that's not in the demon's self-interest to kill their host.
Right.
You know, they don't kill the guy they're inhabiting, they keep him alive. Demons, by all accounts, apparently, you know, they need somewhere to,
Right.
they need a host somewhere.
Right.
So it seems unlikely they would purposely cause the pigs to drown. Anyway, it's an interesting question when you actually, and I made sure I looked it up, pigs can swim. So, because I don't know anything about pigs either,
Can pigs fly?
when pigs fly. So, and why did they all rush down the cliff? Okay, so that now we'll get back to the Bible here. So are pigs smarter than donkeys? Are pigs smarter than donkeys? Yes. Okay, is there a spot in the Old Testament where a donkey recognizes an angel of God
Yes.
and acts appropriately to save his rider from the wrath of God? Yeah, Balaam's donkey. Balaam's, you know, going down and I'm not going to get the whole story. Anyway, an angel, one of God's angels, is in the road in front of this, and the donkey keeps going off to the side, and Balaam keeps whipping this donkey to try and get him to. And so apparently, you know, donkeys can recognize, you know, the supernatural, or this unseen stuff. So maybe why can't pigs do the same? And this sounds like I'm getting into weird stuff here, but why? Yeah, but it is a question to me. What does this all mean to us? What do we take from this? That are pigs more discerning about that than a lot of people are? That people allow bad things into their lives. They allow bad influences into their lives. They engage in things that allow dark spirits into their lives.
Again,
And maybe the pigs react more appropriately, that they want to get away from that.
again, the Creator probably told them to accept the demons and then to run down and die.
Yeah, could be. It could be. And that seems the most likely explanation. That again, so why? Why? Because I don't think that would kill the demons. They would just go fine, but it certainly wiped out, you know, a valuable herd of pigs.
Maybe demons can't swim.
Don't know, Liz?
It just makes you, even, in essence, it's also interesting in my mind too, that a demon could possess an animal.
Yeah.
It sort of lets you know that, of course, the demons had distressed this man, and they went into the pigs, and of course it distressed them as well. Maybe it's just, you're making me think, just an illustration of what this guy was going through, and these pigs couldn't take it, they killed themselves.
Yeah. Could be. Liz?
You know, that just, isn't there a scripture where Jesus, there's a father and his son keeps throwing himself into, was it fire or something like that?
Yeah.
And it was a demon possession, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Miranda?
And here's just another thought. I had not thought of this until thinking about these verses. And maybe it was a rogue group of pigs that weren't owned by anyone. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pharaoh.
Yeah, I've not
Those were
seen
tending
anybody
pigs.
make that
Said those- there were-
suggestion that,
People were tending the pig.
because they did have, well, they aren't shepherds, they're pig herds, right?
Right. But it doesn't say anything about that.
Well, it says when those tending the pigs saw what happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
I stand
Yeah.
corrected.
So, and again, I don't mean to get off onto this weird, obscure pig thing, but again, because all these things that Jesus does through his miracles, there's reasons for it, that usually we can, get some little glimmer of why this is happening. Chris?
I think the demons went down to the bottomless pit. I think the demons led the pigs. Pigs had no control. When the demon gets control of a body or whatever, they have no control. So the demons were in control of the pigs, and they went down into the bottomless pit. Basically, they wanted to go to the abyss. That's where they wanted to go home to. Because they didn't have, they wanted to go
They begged not to go to the
Well,
start all over. And
they had just begged Jesus not to send them to the abyss.
well, he did. He sent them into the bottomless pit because they died. The pigs died. But the demons went down to hell where they live, and then they were going to come back and get into some other human, probably. They don't do any good in a pig. They don't really affect, except the pigs died. But I think that the demons were controlling the pigs. The pigs weren't controlling the demons.
Could be. We don't know. Kevin?
So are the pigs that selected because, is there any connection between the fact that pigs are unclean animals and they're not kosher animals, that God has said, these are the animals you can eat from and these are the animals you can't if you're going to be my people? And that's the way that a Jewish mind would think at that time. Okay. Is there any connection between the fact that they're unclean animals? They're prohibited to be eaten by a Jew. Or is it because there were no lemmings living on the Sea of Galilee that would rush into the sea so they could
Yeah.
pigs instead?
I didn't run across much discussion in the commentaries about anybody talking about any connection between their status as being unclean and their appearance here. Nobody really seemed that interested in looking into that. I tend to think not, but I think and this ties back to Jesus. We mentioned earlier, Jesus allowing things to happen for a reason. What do we learn from this story? What do we learn about Jesus and his authority and what he wants from people, what he tries to teach people, where to put their priorities? Well, we learn he's the Son of God. He controls, he has authority over demons or unclean spirits. The unclean spirits themselves say he does. They admit as much. So maybe this is a lesson not just for the Jews, but maybe Jesus is reaching out to the Gentiles in the area by allowing, by whatever means, we don't have to get into specifics of why the pigs were drowned, whether they did it or the demons did it or Jesus allowed it or whatever. That's a big value in a herd of pigs that has been lost, not just to whoever owned the pigs, but the whole community. Because capitalism being the thing it is, the pig owner gets rich and he spends money, so it's a big loss to this. Heather, did you have?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the thief comes only to kill, steal, and destroy. We talked about like demons, they want to kill. But this also seems to be a great visual. I mean, if the demons had just been sent to the abyss, would we have seen this? Would we be talking about it right now? I don't know exactly why it was pigs, but it's a great visual for us. And if they just disappeared, it wouldn't be as dramatic as what we're talking about right now. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I think the reason the pigs were involved was because pigs were unclean. They were food of the Gentiles. And this is an illustration of Jesus expanding his ministry to the Gentiles. Because he sends the guy who had been possessed back to his towns and
Right.
villages
Yeah.
to tell what had happened. So he's
Yeah.
sort of preparing the way for when they all go into the the capitalists, I guess.
Yeah. Good. Liz?
I think this is just a huge demonstration of how far God will go to redeem someone who's considered unworthy, unclean, a total, someone that society would not even take the time that they.
You're creeping up on where I was going. You keep going. Keep
You
going.
want me to, I can
Keep
stop.
going.
I just.
Keep going.
I just feel like this was a demonstration for especially the apostles that what God sees in value, that I'm sure the community, everybody else saw this man as completely unworthy, someone to be gotten rid of, essentially,
Mhm.
to cast out.
Right.
But God sees value in that human being.
Yeah.
And the worthiness that is there.
Yeah.
And especially as somebody who is not Jewish.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Mike?
If we get down to looking at our lives, God can rebuke our storms in our lives. He's our mediator, just like Pastor James said this morning. He is our mediator. He can also rebuke any demons, any darkness in our lives also. So I think, again, getting back to what Liz was trying to say, or maybe said, is God's mercy is abundant. It's there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and like I say, Liz was I think was where I was going. So Jesus basically he saves this demon possessed man, and he's fine. He's back to normal. As part of that process, though, a herd of pigs gets destroyed, and somebody loses a lot of money. So what did the townspeople do? They were afraid. They asked Jesus to leave. There's no indication here that they say, hooray, this guy got saved. The demons are gone from this guy. They're worried about what? They're pigs. They're worried about money. They're worried about what they've lost. Are they not worried about saving one man? Kevin?
Are they really, or are they super afraid of who Jesus really is?
Could be.
They had tried a lot of stuff to try to fix this situation. They chained the guy up, right?
Right.
And he got away. So they basically tried to put him in jail, put him away, and he keeps escaping, scaring him to death. I cannot imagine living in that area and being and Jesus fixes it just like that. Are they not just, okay, you lost the pigs, but you can get more pigs? Are they not just super afraid of Jesus?
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you be afraid of
Yeah.
what you had just seen? If you had seen that, yeah. But I like, but Liz put it very well that here's this guy has been saved from these demons, and nobody that we see, nobody in the town seems to be rejoicing. So again, maybe part of the lesson here is, okay, well, assets come and go, money comes and goes. But what are you doing for everybody, the people in your life? What do what's the most important thing here? What do we need to be valuing here? Jeff?
I think he's also pointing out the inherent destructive results of evil. The destructive abilities that come from evil, which is those pigs were all destroyed. And that was because they were possessed by demons. And so I think he's just pointing out to his disciples and whoever's there that evil is a bad thing, obviously, and showing what happens.
Yeah. It's not always as blatant and explicit as pigs drowning, but
Right.
it's not literally that, but it's essentially that kind of process that people can undergo with the wrong influence. Liz?
But if you look at it from the bigger picture, in the sense that that's exactly what Jesus did when he died on that cross.
Right.
He sent the demons away. He overcame that. And that's what he did on that cross for every person that would be insignificant, unworthy as that man.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the Jews, it was for everyone who would be deemed unworthy on the eyes of God because of
Yeah.
sin. He did that in the bigger picture, and he cast the evil away because of that. He is the authority over that.
Right. Good. Lynn?
All right, this is going a little bit
Okay.
off here, but the noise that pigs make is very, I'm thinking of all the different groups of animals, and the squeal that they make.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just, a couple thousand pigs running,
Hadn't
like
thought about that.
squealing, like foreshadowing of hell. This is hell.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Brandon?
I think something else too is Jesus was showing his disciples how to act in those situations. In the New King James Version, in Luke 10:19, he tells his disciples, "Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." So I think that was an example to his disciples, how they should also react in those situations.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, all through his ministry, Jesus was showing, just by the way he lived his life, demonstrating how you live like Jesus. All right, last thing, seen and unseen. So I mentioned earlier, I said, is there a coincidence that these two stories are kind of back to back? I mean, think about in the space of, maybe one day, what have the disciples seen from Jesus here? Have they not seen basically his authority over everything? His authority over the weather, his authority over demons, is there anything there's nothing he can't do. So when they ask after he rebukes the storm, they say, "Who is this?" Well, between that and this episode with the pigs and the demons, they should be getting a pretty good idea of exactly who he is and what his authority is over creation. That he's leaving no doubt, this is who I am. So I think it's a kind of a nice combination of stories there, of episodes that Jesus demonstrates in so many ways who he is and what he's capable of doing, or what he can do. All right, that's what I got. Any other thoughts, comments?
The only other thought I've been thinking about, I kind of like what you said about the squealing, what they probably sounded like. But the aftermath, you look around, you see all these dead pigs. The guy's sitting clothed, talking to Jesus, but if you scan everything, the carnage of the pigs is sort of an interesting illustration of the outcome.
Yeah, that is quite a visual of 2,000 pigs floating in the water. And,
Right.
yeah, Chris?
Even if they could swim, it just shows you, if you have demons, you can't save yourself. If you don't have Jesus, I mean, you can't live and be saved and see eternal life.
Right.
Demons
Yep.
running in your life, so you not have a chance to
Right.
save yourself.
Good. Thank you. All right, anything else? let's have a word of prayer and we'll be on our way. Dear God, thank you for your word. Help us as we read these words and we take them in, we bring them into our conscience, into our hearts, into our thoughts, into our prayers. Help us to understand what we need from this and just help us to appreciate your word and all that you do for us, that we are blessed. Help us never to forget that. Be with us this week. Keep us all safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last minute pieces of